Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. The question is asking about dropshipping. Now, I think we've answered this question in detail before, but here's a very short summary. Dropshipping is where the person is the middleman. He is advertising the product on his account, on his platform, whether that's on Amazon or eBay, wherever else it might be. When a customer comes through, he will process that application, that order, to the warehouse, to his supplier. He doesn't actually own the product that he is selling. He sends it over to his supplier. The supplier then will ship it directly and deliver it to the customer. Is that permissible or not? Now, the Messenger of Allah, there's actually a situation that took place at the time of the Messenger of Allah, which is very similar to this. Hakim bin Hizam, and this is a hadith which is narrated by Abu Dawood and Ashab al-Sunan, and the hadith is sahih. He said, "O Messenger of Allah, there is a person who wants me to buy something for him. Is it permissible for me to sell the item to him and then me go and get it from the market?" Exact same situation, if not very similar. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ says to him, "La tabi' ma laysa indak." Do not sell what you do not own or what you do not have possession of. This is not allowed. Now, some of the ulama, we don't want to make it too complicated, but some of the ulama have said that this is specific to food items only, whereas others have said that this is a separate hadith to other hadith which have mentioned food. Therefore, we are taking in its generality. This is the view of the majority of the scholars, especially the contemporary ones. Therefore, it is firmly grounded in the principles of trade now that you are not allowed to sell something unless you've got possession for it. Now, there are a number of reasons for this. Number one, how do you know that the item will be then delivered to the customer when you don't have possession for it? What happens if something goes wrong? Who is the one that is liable? Is it you, or is it the warehouse, or does the customer take the short straw? If you've got the item with you and you pass it over and then you take the payment or you defer the payment, at least now the transaction has been completed. This way, you are selling promises, which is not allowed because there is no demand and there is no khiyar in this situation. Another thing which is important when it comes to selling what we have in possession. Now, this could be a situation, might not necessarily be a typical one, but it could be a situation. But the ulama have mentioned selling what we have in possession closes the door to riba. Closes the doors to riba. I've got some gold and I want to sell it to you. It has to be hand in hand. But if I've sold you the gold which I don't actually possess yet, then this is a riba. Others from the ulama have said there is another reason when it comes to selling what you don't have, is because bay' al-fuduli is impermissible with them. Bay' al-fuduli, what does that mean? I've got an item. You sell it on my behalf. Do you have consent to sell it on my behalf? Have you sold it in the correct manner? This is a type of bay' al-fuduli where you are acting on behalf of somebody else. So now this person who is in the middle, the drop shipper, he is making transactions on behalf of, what he thinks that he's got access to, or on behalf of someone else, when in actual fact, because of the fact that he hasn't got possession or a contract with them, then we don't know if the actual owner of the item has changed his mind. Maybe he doesn't want to sell it anymore. Maybe he's increased the prices. Maybe he's already made a deal with somebody else and the item is no longer available. Therefore, لا تبيع ما ليس عندك, the ulama are pretty much agreed, and there are a number of reasons why the Sharia has established this, because of the fact that the consumer's rights, as well as the trader's rights, as well as the economic rights of the market is then preserved. Because if people are now selling and trading what they don't have, it could also lead to inflation of prices, etc. There's also another reason why the ulama have said that it's not permissible, because it could be in a given situation that it could lead to riba in another way, which is a person sells something that he doesn't own, then has a separate transaction with that person. Therefore, that person then owes him something where the first transaction has not been completed. That is salaf bay', meaning salaf, meaning the person owes him something as a loan or an outstanding payment or a debt. But then there is also a transaction taking place. So he could easily say, okay, I'll sell you this item. Now you owe me for that item. And then we'll make another transaction, and there's ongoing transactions. And businesses do this all the time, unfortunately. Therefore, it is not permissible for a person to move on to another transaction until one transaction has been completed. And the only way you can do that is if you've actually got it in hand and it's then been delivered, and then, either the payment has been made or an agreement for installments has been agreed. Now, this is different to Bayt al-Salam. Now, Bayt al-Salam is when you are trading the description of an item. Trading the description of an item. Why? Because the item doesn't exist yet. When the Messenger of Allah ﷺ moved to Al-Madinah, he found them because they were farmers. There was a lot of agriculture in Al-Madinah at that time. Makkah, there aren't any farms really. There were shepherds. There were people who used to, have animals. But in Medina they had that, but they were also farmers. So when the Messenger of Allah came to Medina, there was a type of trade that was already being established, which is the customer comes to the farmer and he says to the farmer, I want from your next harvest. Then he'll give him the description, and then he'll give him the weight, then he'll give him the price, then he'll give him the date of delivery to be delivered to me when that harvest comes through. So I want 300 kilograms of ajwa dates, particular size, particular quality, to be delivered in July, because that's when the harvest happens, for this price, and here's the payment. This is known as Bayt al-Salam. What has the farmer sold? The farmer has sold something which he doesn't have possession of, but he has sold the description. So now he's paid, the customer's paid, the harvester, the farmer, will then deliver the item based on the description as being given. This is known as Bayt al-Salam. Bukhari and Muslim, the Messenger of Allah said, you can continue with the Bayt al-Salam ila kayl al-ma'loom, wazn al-ma'loom, ila ajl al-ma'loom. As long as all of the details of the trade, the measurement, the weight, the price, the delivery date, all of these things have been stipulated. Therefore, this now removes us from the discussion of selling what you don't have. Why? Because you are selling a description. If you are selling a description of an item which the item doesn't exist yet, then you can sell that. When the customer comes through, you take the payment, you go away and make it, then you deliver it to them. There is no harm in that, as long as it fulfills the conditions of Bayt al-Salam. And we've talked about Bayt al-Salam. If you look into the channel and type it in, you will inshallah see the conditions for that, bi'idhnillah. As long as this fulfills the conditions of Bayt al-Salam, also known as Bayt al-Istisna. Really, Bayt al-Istisna is probably the better terminology for it. Because al-Istisna is where the person is manufacturing and producing. Bayt al-Salam is where the person is selling the description, typically talking about food items, right? Because we're waiting for the harvest. But Istisna is connected to Sina, it's connected to production. So the person now is selling the description. I want 1,000 t-shirts, black, with a print on it. I want small, medium, large. Each unit is going to cost me and I want it to be delivered on this date. This is known as istisna. If the item doesn't exist yet, then the person can trade. However, if the item already exists, and this is the case with dropshipping predominantly, is that the items already exist in the warehouse somewhere in China or anywhere else that they're manufacturing these items. This person is selling the item on his platform. He doesn't own it. He doesn't have possession of it. Therefore, it is not permissible for him to do this form of dropshipping. If he's doing istisna, then this is permissible. This is permissible. Istisna is of different types. Either you make the item yourself, and like I said, if you type in istisna, we've talked about istisna al-mawazi, where you subcontract the istisna. So I can get a table made with the description that you want, O customer, but you're not the one that's going to make it. You will then subcontract it to the people that will do it. And inshallah, there's no harm in that. But like I said, there are conditions. If you chase that up, you will see that on the channel. But here we're talking about dropshipping because normally dropshipping, it doesn't involve istisna. Therefore, it's not permissible. Why? Because the person is selling something which he doesn't own. Now, it's important to understand that when the Sharia has prohibited something, 9 times out of 10, if not nearly 10 times out of 10, there is always a replacement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden zina, but He has made nikah to 4 permissible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made lahm al-khinzir haram, but He has made all of these animals which are wholesome and tayyib permissible. Therefore, if dropshipping is haram, what is the solution? Solution number 1, the person does al-istisna instead. So he can still carry on with the format that he's got on his platform, but look for items that he is now selling which don't exist yet. So now he's selling the description. So if he's doing dropshipping of, I don't know, like say t-shirts, which already exist, but he doesn't have, that's not permissible. But if he's doing dropshipping of t-shirts that don't exist yet, and then the customer puts the order through, and then he goes to his supplier to say, listen, I want these items to be made, and then deliver it, then inshallah, this is permissible. This is permissible. Now, just as a side discussion, the ulama have said that when it comes to istisna, you can appoint the person who is making istisna as your wakil for delivery as well, which is useful for us, because now you get the order come through. 1,000 units of these t-shirts. You take it to your manufacturer wherever they are in the world. You say, listen, I've got an order come through, here's the payment, or you can make the payment later if you want, but here is the order. I want you to make it and I want you to deliver it to the customer in the United Kingdom. So now you've entrusted them with manufacturing and also delivery. That is now inshallah permissible. Like I said, if you go back to the audio on Istisna, you'll find more details on that. So that's the first solution. Dropshipping of items that you don't own is not permissible, but if you turn it to Bay' al-Istisna, then that's permissible. The second way that we can make this halal is that you then become employed by the manufacturer, and then you advertise it that you are employed by such and such person. So on your platform, you say, okay, we are working on behalf of so-and-so who are the actual owners of the item. I am only an employee, and they are paid. You don't need to mention this, but when you are employed, you are getting a fixed amount from the manufacturer. So hopefully that makes sense now. Okay, so you put it on the description that this isn't my item. I'm not selling something that I don't own. I'm selling on behalf of somebody else. When you put the order through, they are the ones that will then send you the item. You can make the payment through me, but then go to them. But you need to have an agreement with them. An employment agreement. An employment agreement is basically where you are getting paid a fixed amount. The third solution, which is similar to it, is where you then become an agent for them. And the majority of the ulama, from the time of the Salaf, Imam Bukhari has many statements from the ulama of the Salaf where they have permitted having a wakil or samsara. So now what this basically means is you say to the manufacturer, okay, listen, Abdullah ibn Abbas said that this is permissible as well, and this is found in Sahih Bukhari. You say to the manufacturer, listen, for each unit, I want 10%. I'm going to advertise it on my account. I'm going to advertise it on my Amazon, wherever it is. For each unit, I want 10%. If they agree, then khalas, you put that on your Amazon. You say that this is the person that is manufacturing the item. They will deliver it to you. The price that you want to advertise it as, that's fine. And then you get 10% of that, and the rest goes to the manufacturer, because that's the agreement that you've got. So the first one, either you do istisna. The second one, either you are employed. The third one, either you are the agent for the manufacturer. And the fourth solution is you become the agent for the client. Now, this doesn't normally happen when it comes to Amazon, eBay, etc. So it'd be difficult to do that. But this is drop shipping in reverse, if you like. This is known with the ulama as murabaha. Al-murabaha. Al-murabaha comes from ribh, where the person basically says, okay, client, what do you want? I want 1,000 t-shirts. This is the spec. These are the sizes. This is how much I want to pay. You say, okay, khalas. I got a guy who can make this for you, but my fee is 10%, 20%, 30%. So the item will cost you 1,000, but you will pay me 1,100. Are you going to agree to this? If you agree, then khalas. Give me the money. Pay me later after if you want, because in Istisna you can do that. And I'll get the item for you. That person then, in that scenario, is not selling something that they don't own. They are now appointed as an agent to go and then buy the item for the customer. And that's it. Khalas. And murabaha is where the person has become the agent himself. He can either purchase the item and then sell it to the client, but then in that scenario he has to sell what he owns, Or he takes their money and says, listen, it's going to cost you 1,000, my fees are 100 on top, whatever they agree. And then he buys the item and then sells it to them and gets it delivered to their address. So now, this is the nature of business transactions. Quite often there isn't one thing which fits directly into the Sharia, halal, haram. And sometimes it could be, and there are solutions, there can be more than one. So that's why we've made this explanation a little bit more lengthier. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us the best of understanding and the best of rizq in the dunya and the akhirah. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على محمد.